Hey everyone, Jeff DeRiso here. Welcome to another edition of Confronting Sophistry. After the recent release of the WikiLeaks Vault 7 leaks, it's been a very chaotic week in the media, so I decided to take a break from binging on the leaks and take a look over in the science section of the news and see what was happening there. So with all the chaos in the tech world, we've got our favorite New World Order apologist, Dr. Stephen Hawking, who says, "We need world government to stop technology threat," says Hawking. That's the headline for March 9th on Yahoo News UK. The article reads, "He has warned of the threat to our planet from overpopulation, climate change, and diseases. Now Stephen Hawking has highlighted a danger to mankind, technology." Oh wow, this is very timely after the release of WikiLeaks Vault 7. He says that technology must be controlled in order to safeguard the future of humanity. Okay, well I agree with that premise at least. And believes that a world government could be the only way to combat the threat, though warned that that could lead to a global tyranny. So he thinks that though the world government could lead to a global tyranny, which would almost certainly be a really crappy situation, it's still the only way to combat the threat of technology, which is a pretty vague way to frame what the threat is. Is it really technology that's the threat? It seems like Stephen Hawking hasn't really bothered to weigh the pros and cons of world government because he's admitted that it could lead to tyranny. So he has to now give us a pretty damn good reason for why we should still believe that world government is, quote, the only way. So let's see what he says. He continues, "Since civilization began, aggression has been useful in as much as it has definite survival advantages," he told the Times. "It is hardwired into our genes by Darwinian evolution. Now, however, technology has advanced at such a pace that this aggression may destroy us all by nuclear or biological war. We need to control this inherited instinct by our logic and reason." Okay, those are those famous buzzwords that we see so often in the sophist arguments. So let's break down what he just said. He says our survival mechanism tells us to be aggressive, but that this aggression has led us to destruction. And I think I'm in agreement with him at least until this point. But then he says we need to control this instinct with logic and reason. So I guess what he's saying is instead of being aggressive, we should be the opposite of aggressive, which is submissive. So if we use our logic and reason, we will then be submissive. But submissive to what, Mr. Hawking? So let's see what he says. He added that he believed the human race will rise to meet these challenges. He said that the human race must retrain for a new world where robots have replaced many everyday jobs. So here's what we should submit to. Here's where the agenda comes in. The basic premise here is that this guy, who's a famous physicist, is somehow qualified to lecture us about how a government should work. I mean, does Stephen Hawking have a degree in public policy that I'm not aware of? Does he have any experience running any kind of government? Does he understand the things that we talked about in Confronting Sophistry Season 1 about how the system is corrupted? It looks to me like the author of this article wants us to assume that because Stephen Hawking is some sort of authority in the field of physics, that should somehow carry over to us giving his opinion some sort of relevance when it comes to government. I mean, when I saw this headline, I literally laughed out loud. Even if Stephen Hawking's theories about physics are 100% true and he's the greatest physicist who ever lives, that doesn't mean that he gets to lecture us about government. Because he's been spending all his time worried about mathematical equations and the minutiae of physics. How has he had time to look into the corruption at the CIA or in other intelligence agencies across the world, and their involvement in arms trafficking and human trafficking in order to fund and operate their black operations. So it seems to me that the point of this article, as well as so many other articles that are being labeled as science news, are really just propaganda for framing the way you view the world in creating this phony expert consensus that says we need world government. And I think the one aspect of hope is that I don't think as many people are falling for this lame-ass argument tactic anymore. I just don't think people are falling for it. And that's what gives me hope, is the people who are listening to this show and reading these articles and just throwing their heads back and laughing their asses off, because this is ridiculous. And the more we point out how ridiculous it is and laugh at it, the less likely other people will be to fall for it. And don't get it twisted. This is not to say that I don't enjoy reading about what's actually going on in the scientific community. I was reading an article this morning in Scientific American called "The Quest to Crystallize Time" about the discovery of something called time crystals. A lot of this article is way over my head, but I'm just trying to get a grasp of it, and I'm excited because this is a real article about scientific research that's really happening and is going to change our understanding and have applications that can make our lives better. That's exciting. But there's a big difference between that and Stephen Hawking's opinions about government. That's not science news. It's time for us to start calling a spade. So let's keep doing that. Thank you all for watching another edition of Confronting Sophistry.